Go. What do you say, everybody? It's Selection Sunday. I'm Mick Gillespie with Tony Sucals hanging out with you tonight. And we're going to wait here and watch the brackets as they're selected. Still waiting on a couple of basketball games to wrap up, but we're excited. And we're going to have a bunch of people on to talk about this really tremendous Alabama basketball season, which has been just absolutely amazing. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. This is Bama Insider. Bama Insider is the Alabama rival site. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Get the TV on at your house. Watch the brackets revealed. And a couple of things that we got going on here at Pearl River Resort. That's where I'm at in Philadelphia, Mississippi at the Timeout Sportsbook. So in front of me right now, you can't see it, but I've got all the basketball games on. I've got the NASCAR. There's some hockey going on. And I've got a couple of bets out there that we'll talk about later, including Ohio State +6. So we're going to take your comments as we watch and kind of break down the season. Pearl River Resort, really an awesome place to watch the SEC tournament and everything else. But let me bring on the beat writer for Bama Insider, Tony Sucals. Alabama won today over LSU. So for the first time in school history since they've been in the SEC and the first time since 1934, Alabama won the regular season in basketball and the conference. Man, this is an exciting time to be a Crimson Tide fan, whether it's football or basketball, because they're winning so much. Nate Oats and the boys got it done today.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy history. And just to win both. Look, earlier this year, we were talking about what's a better accomplishment, winning the SEC tournament or winning the regular season title, which one's more important? And look, Alabama was able to do them both. So I guess we didn't really have to have that debate, because Alabama didn't have to choose. So it's been a magical year for Nate Oats in Alabama. And, man, the future just looks really bright, Mick. When you look at this team, it looks like a team, the way it's played the last couple games, that can go really deep in the tournament.
You know, it's weird as I'm watching the Big Ten tournament with 14 seconds left, Illinois leading Ohio State by a couple of points in overtime. The bracket's already done. I mean, they're about to tell us what the bracket is. So I guess really the way that things are going to work out for both of these teams isn't really going to be affected by the conference tournament. And the reason I say that is I'm wondering where Alabama's going to be seeded. I think Alabama should be a number one seed, Tony. I think they've earned it. Nate Oats pointed out that in the Power Five history of basketball here lately, the 25 teams have won the regular season and the conference tournament. 20 of them have been number one seeds. I just feel like Alabama should be a number one seed. What do you think?
You know, they definitely did enough to earn a number one seeding. It's just a matter of, there's other people ahead of them that have done. I mean, look, you're talking about Illinois. Illinois has done enough to get a number one seeding. And then, Michigan probably has a little bit better of a record. And then you got Baylor and Gonzaga. It's not that Alabama doesn't deserve a number one seeding. It's just that there's four teams currently kind of in that spot. It's really hard. I think you might be able to make an argument for Alabama over Michigan, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. But like when you talk about do they deserve a number one seed in most years, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and they make a case for it. Twice Alabama's been a number two seed. Wimp Sanderson did it once. Mark Godfrey did it once. Alabama, when you look at the history of basketball, Wimp Sanderson was really the guy who had this program rolling. But there's not a lot of great basketball history when you compare it to, like, say, football. But Alabama's the most, besides Kentucky, they're the second most accomplished basketball program. One of our guests, Brian Pasic of the Crimson Tide Sports Network, is going to join us later on. He points that out a lot. But, great graphic here. And you look over the years, one time they got to the Elite Eight Sweet 16. So as good as Wimp's teams were in the 12 years that he was at Alabama, they never got past the Sweet 16. Bama's only been to the tournament 21 times.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you look at this season and just what Alabama basketball has done, and they kind of brought back, this history. I mean, I think that you're going to start to see I think we're starting to see the beginning of something really big, and I think you're going to see these numbers on this chart right here. They're going to go up a lot over the next few years.
Well, Alabama today beat LSU for the third time. That's tough to do as well. I mean, LSU's a really good basketball team. Bama blew them out a couple of times. And then this go around, it was a really nip and tuck game.
Yeah, I mean, geez, look, the first game was the game where they broke all the 3-point record, the SEC 3-point record, and then it was a little bit closer in Tuscaloosa, but it was still like a 16-point game. And this one, it was a nail biter from start to finish. I mean, there was never. I think the largest lead of the game was 8 points when Alabama went on that 8-0 run to start the game, and then after that, I think Alabama had a little bit of a 6-point lead in the second half, and it never felt comfortable for either side. Obviously Alabama won, but it never felt comfortable for Alabama. After that 8-0 run, it was just, back and forth slugfest. You'd see one team go on a 7-0 run, then the other team would respond with a 7-0 run. A lot of clutch shots. Those are the kind of games too that you're going to get in the NCAA tournament. So I think it's really important that Alabama kind of showed that it was able to win those wire-to-wire games.
He's Tony Tsoukalos. I'm Mick Gillespie. Again, as you hang out with us, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Over 50,000 of you guys have already joined Bama Insider and our YouTube channel. Don't forget, BamaInsider.com. Tony's going to dip away here shortly. He'll have a story that'll be leading into whoever Alabama plays. And I feel like the fact that the Big Ten has two teams that they feel like are going to be number one seeds. Illinois just won their tournament, and so I'm guessing that they're going to be a number one seed now. I mean, they'd have to be, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think that it's not, like we said, it's nothing against Alabama. It's just like you got to give Illinois. You just had the run, and Alabama's got more losses, and it's tough too because Alabama's the only Power 5 team to win both of their regular season conference and their conference tournament. So it's really tough to kind of not give them a number one seed. And I guess we'll still see, but really, Mick, I think it's going to be Alabama's probably going to be the highest number 2 seed. And really at that point, does it matter that much? If they're going to being the lowest number 1 seed or being the highest number 2 seed, you're going to be playing a 7 instead of an 8 in the second round, a 15 instead of a 16. I mean, look, Alabama should be able to get it done. And if they are a number 1 seed, are on that level, they really shouldn't be affected by this.
How awesome is it having conference tournaments completed going into the bracket, Alabama being one of the teams that is, even if they're a number 2 seed, it still should be great. But something else, too, is that the way that things are all going to be around Indianapolis, maybe it doesn't matter as much about geography, right, or seeding. I guess just except the team that you would play, right?
Yeah, it's not because everyone's going to be at the same place. It's all about matchups and what bracket you get put in. I mean, I think Alabama's going to be able to avoid a Gonzaga, so I mean, I think most people think that Gonzaga is the best team. Well, Alabama should be able to avoid them in their bracket because I think what you're going to see is Alabama's going to be that number 5 overall seed. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be playing the number 4 overall seed. Probably, I mean, I would envision them being in Michigan's bracket because that's the way it's probably gonna play out. Go Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, Michigan. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I think Alabama's going to be in a good spot, and they're obviously playing the right way, and that's probably more important than some of these, when you get nitpicky in terms of where they're falling. I mean, Alabama's going to have a good seed. They're going to be favored in their opening games, and I think that their playing was all about how they're playing from now on. Because this Alabama team that played in the SEC tournament, they can beat anybody in the nation.
Let's talk about how Alabama got to this point. The regular season, where they started, Nate Oats in his second year. We have, for a long time, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama fans, been led on that this was going to be the year that Alabama was going to have a great basketball team. Even the year they went to the Elite Eight, they were a 500 team in the conference, right?
When they went to the Elite Eight, they were the number 8 seed overall, right? So, I mean, yeah. So this team's entering the tournament with a chance to really make some noise. And I think Elite Eight is probably that's the goal here. I think Alabama's obviously going to be in it to win it. But I think that'd be nice to get to, in that first tournament under Nate Oates to get to as far as you've ever reached before. And I think it's really attainable as well. I think even a Final Four is attainable if things go the right way. But I think if I'm setting a bar for Alabama, what's a reasonable expectation? I think that Elite Eight is definitely a possibility.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We're waiting on the brackets to be revealed as Alabama might be a number 1 seed. Most likely is going to be a number 2 seed. It's going to be debated, because if they're not a number 1 seed, then the Big Ten's going to have 2 number 1 seeds. But Bama was number 6 in the country going into a tournament that they won. And I know they wanted to play Arkansas just because they wanted the opportunity to avenge that loss. But I think it's tougher to have to beat a team like LSU twice. And that's what Alabama did today, 80-79. Tony Tsoukalas covers Alabama. He's at a lot of the games, and you read his work on BamaInsider.com. And I'm Mick Gillespie hanging out with you from Pearl River Resort here in Philadelphia, Mississippi. I'm in the sports book right now. Did you see the end of the Illinois-Ohio State game? Ohio State hit a 3 right at the end of the game. And you know what that means? I just turned my $5 into 10, Tony.
There you go. You've been out of the casino, man. That's you. Those are the kind of things you gotta worry about. Yeah, they're just now. Looks like they're just now going through the West region. Obviously, Gonzaga got the number 1 overall seed. If you guys are watching,
yeah. So this is exciting, and we're going to have you on here. Trey Yannity's going to jump on once Alabama has come up as far as where their seeding is going to be, and we're kind of seeing. We're going to find out pretty early, right, if Alabama's a 1 or not.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they're going to be doing these brackets. We'll probably see. I still expect them to be a 2, like I said. But man, it'd be some excitement if they were able to be a number 1 seed.
What would it mean to the program if they were a number 1 seed?
I think there's a prestige that goes with being a number 1 seed. I think ultimately it's what you do in the tournament. This is kind of I don't know. It's an honor, but it really doesn't mean anything. If Alabama is the number 1 seed and loses in the Sweet 16, it won't matter if they're the number 1 seed. So I think it's something you can look back at and say, hey, they did this. They were a number 1 seed. There's only 4 of them in the nation. But I think still being a number 2 seed, it's all about what you do with it. And I think that Alabama players will care more about what they do with it than what seed they were given.
I was kind of looking at this basketball team, and we've talked about it on Monday Night Quarterback. I've talked about it on other shows that I've hosted here and said, hey, look, I was worried about who was going to be the guy that would take the shot in the close game because Alabama had not fared well. They'd won a lot of games, but it wasn't a lot of like back and forth games. They got challenged by Tennessee and they got the job done. And again today, where they made the big shot. That is, for me, I think that going into the NCAA tournament, Alabama could not be hitting a better stride. And it's because they've won these games. And we know now that Quinterly's not afraid to take the shot. Shackelford's not afraid to take the shot. Jones, this guy does so many little things right. Today, Petty was not good. And still, Alabama found a way.
Yeah, and we talked about that guy. That guy is turning out to be Javon Quinterly off the bench. Like he obviously won the SEC tournament MVP, and he's just been on fire. And to be honest with you, if I'm at the end of the game, I'm putting the ball in Javon Quinterly's hands. I don't know if he's necessarily shooting it or if he's going to find someone, but like if I'm drawing up a play, he's the guy that I'm getting the ball to and kind of letting him decide because he's been on fire. And I think if Alabama's going to make a deep run in this tournament, it's probably going to go through him. Obviously Herb Jones does a lot of the glue stuff. He had his second straight double-double. But when you talk about just from a scoring aspect, I think Javon Quinterly is the most consistent offensive player on this team.
How about the injury to Primo? He was on the sideline today. Nate Oates talked about that and said, hey, look, if we expect him to be back, if not for the first round, but for the Sweet 16.
Yeah. So it was like Nate Oates was maybe getting ahead of himself a little bit, but I mean that's the expectation on this team is that they expect to get to the Sweet 16. And look, it'd be a big upset if Alabama didn't get to the Sweet 16 because that means that they would have lost to either a 7 or an 8 seed as either a 2 or a 1 seed. So Alabama is definitely expecting to get far in this tournament, and they should. In the way that they're playing, they should. But I think, once this happens and once you start looking at, the seeding, I think they got to focus on the matchup ahead. You can't look too far ahead. I mean, even if Alabama gets a number 15 seed or a number 16 seed, depending on what they get, they've got to then focus in because everybody in this tournament can win games. I mean, Alabama lost to a Western Kentucky team, so Alabama's not immune to upset losses, So if they don't bring their A game or if they're not focused, that they could be in trouble. I just think that this SEC tournament was a good indication that Alabama is geared in right, and players are getting healthy, and you're starting to see the true potential of this team.
Let's listen to a little bit of Nate Oates' press conference after today's game, Tony. And if Alabama's announced, we're going to cut that right off and come back. And if they're not announced yet, then we will talk about what Nate Oates had to say. All right. So we're just gonna dip into a couple minutes of Nate Oates, and still waiting on Alabama and where they're seated and who they're going to be playing.
I just want to reiterate how excited I am for our players. They deserved it. They've played the right way. They've bought into what we're trying to get them to do. That's a good team. They got a lot of talent on LSU's team. They came ready to go today. We kind of came out, had a great start. They answered it, made a run there in the second half. I thought we did a good job. And it was fitting. It came down to their offense and our defense at the end to get to see who's going to win the game. And I thought, our defense came through. Keon Ellis had a huge block. We guarded the underneath out of bounds play well, forced them to take a tough one. I wish we'd have gotten the first rebound. We didn't. They got it. Fortunate that they missed the putback and came out here with a tight win. But, really happy for our guys. I think of those 3 seniors, Herb and Petty and Reese, that, are all from the state of Alabama, huge Alabama fans, came here to win championship. And just the fact that I've been able to be a part of their journey here these last 2 years, just super excited for them that they're able to close this senior year out with 2 championships, a regular season, a tournament championship. You add in Tyler, who's a walk-on that's been here the whole time, and then Jordan Bruner, can't say enough about what Jordan's added to the culture here too. And then I told Quinterly before the tournament started, I knew he was playing well. I felt he was locked in. I said, let's go win the tournament MVP. I coached 4 of them at Buffalo. One as an assistant and 3 as a head coach. So it's time to add a fifth. Add a fifth one to the mix. So happy for Quinterly. Really happy for his family. Saw them up in the stands. His mom was crying. They've been through so much. So really glad he played well on a huge stage. Showed what he's about. Shaq came through for us today after he struggled yesterday. I talked to him in his hotel room yesterday. Just told him he's going to have a big game, and he came through, had a huge game for us. So happy for the guys. We'll get our NCAA tournament match up here in a couple hours and head up to Indy.
Thank you, Coach. Just a reminder.
All right, perfect. Let's just cut it there, Trey, and just kind of get into this a little bit, Tony. He's Tony Tsoukalas. I'm Mick Gillespie. This is our Selection Sunday watch party. I'm hanging out at the Timeout Sports Lounge here in Philadelphia. It's a casino that has a sports book. It's, like an hour and a half drive from Tuscaloosa. And so I put a little money down on, I say a little money, like $5 on a lot of the basketball games. But March Madness over here is going to be nuts, by the way. It's exciting when you hear, Tony, Nate Oates kind of, saying, hey, I'm used to winning, another, throw another log on the fire, man. This guy's burning up.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to hear his voice too, man. He's not going to make it to the. He's going to. He talked a little bit about getting cough drops and stuff later on in the press conference because his voice was barely there. It's his it's kind of funny hearing him getting through that press conference, but he's pumped up. He's, the whole team's pumped up. It was really nice to hear too what it meant to guys like, John Petty and Herbert Jones. And look, they were here they're used to watching this tournament and it being, will Alabama make it? Now it's, will Alabama be a number 1 seed? What a change. And I think that, it just the reversal that Nate Oats was able to do in 2 years is absolutely outstanding.
We got the first bracket out right now. Gonzaga is the number 1. They're going to play, a 16. Norfolk, or I guess that's Appy State. And then you got Oklahoma and Missouri as an 8-9. Creighton and UC Santa Barbara is the 5-12. Virginia's going to play Ohio, and that's a 4-13. So we're still waiting on Alabama. But Gonzaga, they're undefeated at 26-0. They're the team to beat going into this tournament. And I feel like the fact that, that Alabama's played the tough conference schedule, the Big Ten this year, that conference just seems to be stacked, that it's going to hurt Gonzaga that they really haven't played that level.
I think it's probably is too. It's tough when you're not tested. Look, we're just talking about how Alabama was tested in this tournament. Gonzaga doesn't get tested a lot, and I think if it comes out and gets punched in the mouth, how is it going to respond? Because it really hasn't had to deal with the same level of schedule, really that the Big Ten has, or even the SEC. The SEC is kind of down this year, but even the SEC it still has quality that Gonzaga is not used to. So yeah, it's definitely gonna. I think it's usually a disadvantage for teams like that get to breeze through the regular season.
Yeah, it looks like, was that Arkansas as a 2?
Arkansas is a 3. So Arkansas is a 3. That's big, and they're in. It looks like they're in Baylor's bracket, and they'll be playing against Ohio State. That'll be a tough match. That'll be a fun matchup too. Ohio State and Arkansas. If we get to see that eventually in the Elite 8, that could be a really fun one.
Yeah. So Arkansas is a 3. And we're, as this thing kind of progresses down, Florida's a 7. So the SEC starting to have some of their schools pop in on this, and we'll eventually have this whole bracket together as we wait on Alabama and find out, where the Crimson Tide are going to be, whether it's a 1 or a 2. And I got a feeling that's just the way that, that they do these TV shows, that they're going to try to string that out to the end.
Yeah, well, if Alabama's in the 4th bracket, then we won't find out until probably the exact last pairing, because if Alabama's a 2 seed, the way that they've been going down these brackets, that'll be literally the last game announced. So we'll see. That's probably, there's a good chance Alabama, like the way it's going, will be the last, the absolute last game announced. But we'll be in here for the to keep you guys, entertained until then.
Yeah. So we're, just kind of hanging around now. What do you think it would mean to the program again if they had the number 1 seed? I don't know that it really represents much of a difference. You got to go in and play basketball, but there's just a status that you get when you're a number 1.
Yeah, as I said, it's more of just a sense of pride. It's something that, when you look back at the season, you can say, oh, Alabama was the number 1 seed. It'd be the highest seed Alabama's ever gotten as well. So that's something to hang your hat on when you're looking at things. I'm going to reiterate, I still think it means more what you do with your seed than what you are, because nobody, if you lost in the 1st or 2nd round, it's almost, no one's going to care that you were a number 1 seed. It's not a title. It's something that, you really don't have control of to a certain extent. So I don't think Alabama's going to be worried or slighted if they're a number 2 seed.
Right. One thing that you look at too, the way that this program has progressed, Avery Johnson recruited a lot of the players, including the seniors on this team. And then Nate Oats came in, and he was the perfect guy to take Alabama from where they were to this next step to where they're going. And he's going to be a hot commodity on the coaching market. So Alabama went out and made, and gave him the contract extension, paid him more money. people have to be taking notice right now of this Crimson Tide basketball program with Nate Oats.
Yeah. I mean, look, they are taking notice, but they're going to have to take notice for a while as well. I think that this is not a flash in the pan. And you look at the way Alabama recruits and just the style that Nate Oats has done and how successful it's been. I think it's a winning formula, and I think this is just kind of like the tip of the iceberg here. I think that you're going to start seeing Alabama be a contender year in, year out, as long as they have Nate Oats. They might take a small step backwards next year, just depending on how the team fills out. But I still think that they'll be a team comfortably in the tournament and a team that can make a run in the tournament next year as well. This is obviously a special year, so they're not always going to be like this one. The number 2 seeds are nice, but I think as far as like being a tournament challenger, I expect this to be a yearly occurrence.
He's Tony Tsoukalas. I'm Mick Gillespie, hanging out with you here on Bama Insider and the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up as you hang out. This is our watch party. I'm at the Timeout Sports Lounge here at Pearl River Resort. Here's my player's card for you right there. Thanks to the three-pointer right at the end of the Ohio State game. It made for my 3rd win today. I've always had this dream of spending a basketball tournament at a casino and just kind of like betting, like $5 per game, just make it a little more interesting. And the tournament starts on Friday. So for those of you that are hanging out right now, if you want that experience, if you spend $50, you can play golf here at Dancing Rabbit, which is an awesome golf course, for $30. And that ends at the end of the month. So, the end of March. So now is definitely the time to do it. But it's just been a great atmosphere as we kind of sit here and hang out. I mean, even though all the basketball's up, and I see the bracket on the TV, so I'm guessing that they're just about to announce where Alabama went. An hour and a half from Tuscaloosa would be a fun place to hang out. Do we know yet
where Alabama is? No,
yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
It might be a while too. Yeah. So.
Well, any final thoughts? Before I'm going to switch over to Trey here and let him get on and let you get ready to write your column.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, before you skip off here, final thoughts on just the overview of where this basketball program was when Nate Oats started and where it is right now.
Well, it's not like he inherited a bad roster, but Alabama was kind of stagnant, and it looked like they were maybe going in the wrong direction, and they weren't ever getting that hump under Avery Johnson. It didn't look like things were. It seems like they were losing momentum rather than gaining it. And I think that was the real fear. And so Nate Oats was a huge shot in the arm. It wasn't perfect during his first season. There were struggles. They still had to adapt to this style of play. But there were definitely times last season too where you saw that this was turning around. And then this season, man, it's been a total 180 from what it had been. You're getting excitement surrounding the basketball program. Like you said, first time since 1987 that they were able to win both the conference tournament and the regular season title as well. And it's absolutely insane. The transformation he's been able to kind of undergo in so short a time. And so it's just a really exciting time to be following Alabama basketball.
Tennessee's a 5 seed as the SEC teams start to get seeded. We're still waiting on Alabama. So I don't know, Tony, to think that Alabama could possibly be a basketball school is something that we've always kind of wanted to see in Tuscaloosa, but it obviously, they're on the verge of possibly being a number 1 seed, which would be just an amazing accomplishment for the Crimson Tide. I think the knock on Alabama is that their non-conference schedule, they were like 5-4. They lost some close games to good teams, but nonetheless, they lost, some games to teams that could have went their way. Maybe you win a couple more of those and you're a number 1 seed. But when you win the regular season and then you win the tournament, I don't know. I just feel like you should be a number 1 seed. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've got an argument. They made a strong case for it this weekend. It's just I think it's the chips didn't necessarily fall that way, So I think whether they deserve to win it, I think that's a different question of will they, because I think you could, if we were having this show for Illinois, for Michigan, for Baylor, for Gonzaga, I think we could make that argument that each one of those teams could make it as well. So it's a tough situation for Alabama, but it's no slight on the achievement that they were able to, kind of put together this season.
Right. Well, who do you think it comes down to? I mean, who do you think it's between for that last spot?
They've already done 3, so it'd be between Michigan and
Alabama. Okay. So Michigan would be 2 out of the Big Ten. They won the regular season. They didn't win the conference. They had that really weird situation where Juwan Howard, who, by the way, was one of my favorite basketball players, was kind of got into a screaming match with Coach Turgeon of Maryland. That was odd. But he's probably the national coach of the year. Michigan is a basketball blue blood, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, definitely. He had the 5-5. Yeah.
He was one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's this jumpstart Alabama team that's, kind of coming out of nowhere. A year where Kentucky wasn't involved. Kentucky's owned the SEC over the years. And, that obviously not the case this year. They're not even going to make the tournament. And Alabama and LSU and Arkansas kind of floated to the top of the group. And then Alabama just was a little bit better than everyone else in the conference the entire year. They only lost twice. 16-2 in the regular season, and then they ran 3 games off in the tournament. So as we sit here and wait, I don't know how much longer they can go without telling us.
Yeah, well, they're just I think it's just the way that the bracket kind of came out. That's just that Alabama will be probably the last one to be announced.
So I feel like you've made it this far with us. Like, I hate to let you go and not get your,
I think it's pretty obvious that I just think Alabama's going to be a number 2 seed, but I think that's something to be really excited about from an Alabama perspective, and they'll be the highest rated number 2 seed is what I think they'll be. So
thumbs up and subscribe, Bama Insider, the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Love having you guys with us, and we appreciate it. He's Tony Tsoukalos. I'm Mick Gillespie, hanging out with you at Pearl River Resort. I got to tell you, this facility's been great. They spent $600,000 in capital investments they made to the property with technology like UV light technology that cleans the air as you breathe. When you walk in, they take your temperature, but it's it's non-invasive. I mean, it's like you walk forward and it's like some kind of thing that they probably have at the airport too. It's unbelievable. You just walk right through the front door and it tells you if you have a temperature or not. But they also have technology here that cleans the air as you breathe. So they've tried to do all of these different things with COVID. And I know we're kind of getting to the end of COVID, but, temperature checks, people are constantly cleaning the handrails with cleaner UV lights and, making kind of a healthy, clean atmosphere, plus masks. Not where we're sitting right now, but, when you're not broadcasting, they've asked everyone to have your mask on. So we're still waiting for Alabama to be announced as a 1 or a 2 seed. Tony feels like that Alabama's definitely going to be a 2 seed, that Michigan's going to be the 1. The math is starting to tell us that. If Alabama is a 2 seed, they'd be the top 2 seed. So would that matter, Tony? If you're a 2 seed, but you're the top 2 seed?
Yeah, it means you get to avoid the, team like Gonzaga that's really important. You get to avoid them for longer. So Alabama will not be a number 1 seed because Michigan was just announced as a number 1 seed. So I think you're pretty much going to have Alabama being a number 2 seed in the East region.
All right, Tony. Well, look, you got some writing to do. Come back on when you're finished your story. And we appreciate it, man. So we don't know who Alabama's playing yet, but we know that they're not going to be a number 1 seed. So
it's essentially now locked into a number 2 seed because they're obviously not going to fall down to 3, and Michigan's the last number 1, so they'll be a number 2 seed.
So they'll have the 2 versus 15 matchup. LSU's an 8 seed. They're playing St. Bonaventure, who, by the way, won me $5 today. I bet 5 on them. So feeling good about St. Bonaventure's, and obviously I'm joking, as they play LSU. So LSU is in the same bracket as Alabama. Do you want a fourth matchup between Alabama and LSU? I mean, is that what everyone's
hey, if it's as exciting as this last one, then maybe, you know. I think it'd be fun to see, you know, right?
Yeah, you know, definitely. I just, you know, like as we kind of watch this thing go down, I'm just really a little disappointed that Alabama, that the SEC didn't get a little bit more respect than a number 2 seed. I mean, you're talking about a dominant conference champion. You're talking about one team winning all their conference games. We suspect that the Big Ten's really good, right? Because they have high rankings. But until this tournament starts, because we haven't had a lot of non-conference games, right? We don't know. And I'm not saying that they're not going to be great. They probably will be. But with that said, I mean, you know, does that say something about the SEC that Alabama would be a 2?
I just think that the Big Ten had a great year, and so they're going to have, you know, 2 teams in there. And then you look at Baylor and Gonzaga were number 1 and 2 for the majority of the season, so you really can't take them out either. It really just has something to say about how great Illinois has been and how they were able to kind of climb in here and take that number 3 overall seed. You know, I think that's really the reason why Alabama didn't get it, is because Illinois just was also on fire at the end of the season.
So we're still waiting to find out who the Crimson Tide play in the first round. And they're going to be what we're guessing is the top-rated 2 seed in the tournament. You know, and as we sit here and watch, you know, you just think about some of the battles that Alabama's had this year. They swept Auburn, which was great. They took care of LSU 3 times. They beat Kentucky twice, which is a rarity for the Crimson Tide program. And, you know, we're kind of just hanging. Tony, do you want to – if you got to get out of here, just let me know, and we can I'll hit this.
Yeah, we'll sure. Yeah, if you guys want to make the switch now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to play this quick message from Pearl River, and then while we're doing that, Trey's going to jump in. You jump out. We'll have you on back later on in the show.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And we'll kind of be able to discuss more about, you know, who Alabama's facing and how that's going to look.
Yeah, and look, folks, make sure you go to BamaInsider.com. That's the Alabama rival site. To read Tony's story, he's going to put it up right now, always giving you the we got it. Okay, Tony. Alabama's playing Iona.
Okay, there you go.
So there's your matchup. Any thoughts on this?
I would pick Alabama if you're betting. I don't know much about Iona. I'm gonna have to look, but
is Iona the one that has Rick Pitino?
Like I said, I don't know much about Iona.
I think Iona's coach is Rick Pitino. Look, you do your writing. You might want to look that up and put it in your story. Come back later on in the show. I'm going to hit this, and then Trey and you are going to switch it.
Iona is the coach that has Rick Pitino, by the way. Yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I thought that being the number, the 2 versus the 15, and they throw Rick Pitino at you in the first round. How about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me get up on this, and I'll get our story up on the site.
All right, guys, look, that's Tony Tsoukalas. You can read his work at BamaInsider.com. When after this, Trey will be on with us as we hang from Pearl River.
Get in on the action at Pearl River Resort. New members get $50 of free play on us. Or if you haven't played with us since 2018, we're inviting you to come back and play. $50 on us. See Players Club for details.
Where's our sports fans? Place your bets now at the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. From the first pitch to the final down, the toss-up to the knockout, and everything in between. We'll keep you in action all season long. Play, win, repeat. Only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casino's Pearl River Resort properties.
All right, guys, I'm Mick Gillespie, and now joined by Trey Yannity as you hang out with us on our bracket reveal party. It's a watch party for the Crimson Tide. They won the SEC regular season, Trey. They won the tournament. They're playing Iona as a number 2 seed. I'm disappointed that they didn't get the number 1, But you know what? It's still going to be a lot of fun. Rick Pitino, you're talking about one of the great coaches of all time, is the head coach of Iona, right? I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun.
This is a weird one, and right when I saw it come up, that was my first thought. Like, this is Iona, and maybe not a lot of people have heard of Iona or know much about Iona basketball, but recently they've caught some attention because their head coach is Rick Pitino. I mean, this is a guy that has won national championships and won in this tournament a whole lot. So, an interesting matchup here in the first round. I don't hate it. As a 2 seed, you're playing a 15. The NCAA selection committee takes everything into consideration and knows what Iona is capable of. So if it was an unfavorable 2 to 15 seed matchup, you might see that with the fourth best 2 seed. It seems Alabama being in Michigan's region that they are the 5th best team overall, the top 2 seed in this bracket. So I think Iona is favorable. You look at the second round here already too. It's Maryland, I believe, is the 10 seed as we try to get it pulled up here. Yeah, Maryland's the 10 seed. They're playing UConn, out of the Big East there. So that's a pretty favorable second round matchup as well if Alabama can get there. And depending on who they'll have to play, then it's Texas maybe in the Sweet 16, or maybe it's Michigan State or Florida State, schools that Alabama really matches up against well. So I love this draw. They're not a 1 seed, but like Tony was saying before he hopped off, it doesn't really matter. This group is so motivated, to get to the finish line and to cut more nets down and to get more trophies and everything else. So not being a 1 seed, it maybe stings a little bit just thinking about all the success they've had, thinking about everything they've accomplished this year. But they're going to sleep all right tonight. They're going to get ready for Iona. An interesting matchup here. What are your thoughts on this one so far? I don't know how informed you are on the Gales basketball team in Iona, but it seems to be a fun one in the first round.
Now, look, I'm going to pull up a couple comments here, and I love it when you guys who are hanging out with us tonight comment in the comment section. Mike says that Pitino and Providence bounced us out when we had one of our best teams. You got right here, Kentucky, when he was at Kentucky, C-Roll, W Tide. Pitino coached one of Kentucky's greatest teams. Look, this guy's dangerous, man. I mean, he's won national championships at multiple schools. He, took over that program. They weren't that good in the regular season, and then they just stunned everyone and won their conference. Rick Pitino, playing a coach of his stature in the first round is tough. I think Alabama will have the superior talent, but this guy's been there and done that, so just the fan aspect of it. It's a great challenge for Alabama, and it's a fun matchup because of Pitino. But as far as like we could get upset part of it. It does give you a little bit of a scare.
No, it definitely does. I mean, anytime you're playing in the NCAA tournament, there's that chance that a Cinderella team upsets you. As Alabama's a 2 seed here. There's high stakes. There's been a target on their back for a lot of this season, especially throughout SEC play as they were undefeated. Starting to get the rankings, this, that, whatever else. But there's truly anything can happen in these NCAA tournament games, and we've seen it 100 times over in the past. We saw Duke get upset as a 2 seed not too long ago by, I think it was Lehigh University. A similar matchup in this game, but I think Alabama is getting hot again, and that's really what this tournament is about. Who's going to get the hottest when it comes to March? Alabama didn't skid necessarily, but they didn't close out the regular season, I think, exactly how they had wanted to. This was a team that was shooting lights out. They were shooting over 40% from the three-point line. It was LSU, they were dominating Arkansas, these other schools. As the season went on, they started to struggle a little bit. They didn't play that well against Vanderbilt. They didn't look that good against Mississippi State the first go-round. Second time with LSU, it wasn't awesome. They lose to Missouri, lose to Oklahoma, lose to Arkansas. But to see them turn that around, wipe it all, get to Nashville, day one, just absolutely thrash a decent Mississippi State team there, and then grit out a win last night against Tennessee and, do it again today for the title. It's an unbelievable story, and I think it sets them up for an even better one here in the NCAA tournament. This team is one of the hottest teams in the country. Oklahoma State's now lost. Their little streak is over. Maybe you could argue Illinois, but they just lost to Ohio State. So I think Alabama truly is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. This region really lines up well for them.
Well, we're about to. Are we going to be able to pop the bracket up here?
Yeah, we're gonna. We got the Yahoo bracket up. It's not going to be in beautiful bracket form here at first. We'll try to get it better on paper, but I can scroll you down.
Yeah, just put Bama's. Let's put Bama in there and take a look at it.
Let's get this pulled up, and we'll start here at the top with the West region. I really like this West region a lot. I think it lines up for Gonzaga well. They will be taking on Norfolk State or Appalachian State. And then, you go down the list here, you look at some familiar faces. Oklahoma was the team Alabama played not too long ago. They're taking on another team that beat Alabama in Missouri there. And some other really fun ones here too. Kansas, we'll get the chance to maybe play a Wichita State team that's gotten hot here recently. Iowa is the 2 seed in this one. Just, a fun region to start here. What were your thoughts as we got this first region unveiled?
Well, look, Gonzaga is the overwhelming number 1 overall seed. I mean, they're undefeated. They have a very deep team, and they're going to be tough to beat, right? You look at that second-round matchup with the winner of Oklahoma and Missouri. I'm going to tell you right now, as you fill out your bracket, know that both of those teams can beat Gonzaga. We've seen Oklahoma. When Alabama played Oklahoma, they were as hot as any team in the country, right? And they've beaten, teams that are in the top 10, and they've done it with consistency. When Alabama went to Missouri and lost to Missouri, Missouri was a, very solid basketball team. I like Oklahoma in that game, and I think Oklahoma could challenge to make a run on that side of the bracket. Creighton and UC Santa Barbara, don't know a whole lot about them. Virginia's been dealing with COVID. And don't know much about Ohio. So as we move on with the show, I'm going to bring on Charlie Walter in the second hour of this show, and he's going to help us break down a lot of these matchups. But it's really fun to to kind of see the potential as we take a look at the South.
Yeah, I mean, this region is another just loaded one, and if you're an Alabama fan, you kind of felt a little bit relieved as the show went on and you saw the Baylors come out, and you weren't in that region. You see Villanova in this one as a 5 seed. Villanova is a really good team this year. They were upset in their conference tournament by a red-hot Georgetown team, but that's still a team that could probably be a 3 seed or a 2 seed even. And, we're looking to even be a 1 seed late into the season. So, this region is going to be deadly. Texas Tech, really good basketball team. They're a 6 seed. Arkansas is your 3 here. You go down to the 2 is Ohio State, a team that, just won the Big Ten, which is the best conference in the country. So I would say this region is probably the hardest. If you look at it, there's, it's just loaded throughout. The schools, that are lower seeds, I don't see too many Cinderella stories coming out of this one. You could argue maybe, this Winthrop team, if they can figure out a way to get past Villanova, they have a decent route and there's a pretty good ball club there. But this one I don't think is going to be too upset heavy. What were your thoughts on the second region here?
Well, I love looking at the teams in the SEC that are in the tournament because we've paid a lot of attention to those teams, So Baylor has dominated a really good Big 12 this year. You got North Carolina, who probably should be. I don't know. They've come on strong, but I mean, not a normal season for them. Wisconsin, that slow down tempo, gives anybody trouble. I mean, and that they're always one of those teams. They get into the tournament and they slow you down and just kind of grind it out and make it tough on you. And Villanova is, Gillespie. I mean, what a name for a player. When Gillespie got hurt, he's their star player. They've had a lot of trouble, and they could have possibly been as high as a 2 seed. And all of a sudden now they're a 5th seed going the wrong direction. They'll play Winthrop. Don't know much about Winthrop except they have, a history of having some decent basketball teams. Love Arkansas against Colgate. I think Arkansas is a very good team. I was disappointed that LSU beat them because I wanted to see the Alabama-Arkansas rematch. We didn't get that. But, Arkansas will be in there. And, and I think that they're a team that can make a run. And then you got Florida against Virginia Tech. The Gators have been, middle of the pack in the SEC this year. Ohio State's a really good team. We just saw them not win, but force overtime in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, this Ohio State team is built for it. And there's a few teams in the Big Ten I think you look at. Illinois, They're a team that you probably put in your last weekend. Even Michigan, so they're the 1 seed. They're the team that really people have kind of come on too late here. They probably are the best team, best roster at least out of the Big Ten. But it's loaded down. I mean, this middle of the bracket always gets weird, and you feel bad for a team like Florida because they had an interesting season. It was up and down, but they're playing a 10 seed in Virginia Tech, a Virginia Tech team that could probably be as high as a 6 seed. So that's a hard matchup. You get past them, now you have to play Ohio State, one of the hottest teams in the country. After that, you then have to play Arkansas and whatever else. This region is going to be absolutely brutal. The next region, the Midwest region here, I don't think is that bad. It's not too deadly. You look at Illinois as the 1 seed there. You go down the list. Tennessee being a 5 makes this one a little bit more difficult, but Oklahoma State is a really hot team. I don't necessarily know if, what Oklahoma State team we're going to get here in the tournament. They seem to be legit, but they did really struggle at times this season, and they're the 4 seed in this one. West Virginia is a 3 seed. They could maybe slide down, maybe a 4 or 5. That's a good team too, but maybe not even a 3 seed. And then your 2 seed is Houston. And that's a Houston team that didn't even make their conference title in the American. And it's a, respected ball club. That's a good team this year. But as a 2 seed, it's doable for a team like Rutgers as a 10 to make a run here to the Sweet 16 or something like that. I think this region right here is your Cinderella region, the one that you pick out the upsets in. Maybe Georgia Tech makes a run. They're playing Loyola as an 8 seed, and Loyola was ranked for most of the season. Georgia Tech wasn't. They just found a way to win their conference, so they slide in here late, but they're really hot too. They could make some noise as we get down the stretch. And Oklahoma State, on the other side of the coin, could also make a run in this tournament. I like this region a lot. Don't really know exactly who my winner is. Illinois is a really good team, but they've been susceptible at times. What do you think about the Midwest?
Look, I watched Houston just dismantle Cincinnati today. I mean, I was like, it was like watching an NBA team, the way they were creating off of the dribble. They're the number 2 in that league. Cleveland State's not going to have a shot against them. Keep an eye on Houston. They're one of the most dangerous teams in this entire tournament. Love West Virginia. It's just anytime Huggy Bear's coaching the team, it's fun to watch them. We saw Clemson against Alabama earlier this year. Notice that a lot of I'm guessing that pretty much every team Alabama lost to either made the tournament or was close to making it. Alabama didn't have any, what I would say, bad losses. They lost some games that they should have won or could have won. But at the same time, the teams that beat them turned out to be pretty good teams. I watched Western Kentucky just barely nudged out for their conference championship. Clemson and Oklahoma are in. I'm not sure about Stanford. Are they in? I'm sure they are, right? I mean,
I don't think they made it. Let's see here. Looking up and down it. Yeah, I don't think they made the cut. They had a big skid though. And the thing about that game, and really a lot of Alabama's losses, you look at it, if they were to play those games a month, 2 months later, it's a much different result. Alabama didn't have it at first. They went out to the Maui Classic in Asheville, North Carolina, and really struggled up there. They didn't play Stanford well at all. They had to come back and get a really gritty win over Rhode Island the night after that. And it wasn't all the way there. Then they come home. They were really neutral site. They play Clemson. They lose that game. Then they come home, play Western Kentucky, lose that game by a point. And then they play Furman and win that game by a point in overtime. So that stretch right there, I think, was Alabama's worst basketball. It was, it's a young team this year, a lot of depth. They didn't really know exactly how they wanted to use that at first. And it wasn't meshing very well at first, but they figured it out, obviously, and have turned it around. So, you restart the season knowing what you know now and kind of knowing exactly how this offense works. Alabama probably is only looking at 1, maybe 2 losses, if that, because this team, really got it together quickly.
Hanging out with you from Pearl River Resort here in Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's an hour and a half from Tuscaloosa at the Timeout Sports Lounge, where I bet on 2 NASCAR drivers. Denny Hamlin came in third. Now, had he won the race, my $10 would have turned into $660, right? But the great one was, I'm not sure where Stenhouse finished. I think like 10. Had he won, my $10 would have turned into like 1,000. So it's like fun when you hang out. And yeah, I put a big $5 on Ohio State. They covered 20 on Bama. And, obviously they didn't cover, but they won. But anyway, if you bring in your tax refund check at either Golden Moon or Silver Star, they're the 2 casinos here, you get a chance to spin the wheel, the big wheel, and an opportunity to win $100 in free play. So just by bringing your check, hey, here's my check. They don't even ask you to spend it. So some of the stuff that's going on later on in the show, we're going to have Charlie Walter, who is a sharp from out west. Charlie's Choice Cuts. He's going to kind of give us a way that if you're putting your bracket together, maybe some cheats on that, or if you're going to, play the odds on this, he'll give you some instinct on that as well. Brian Pasic from the Crimson Tide Sports Network is going to be on at 6:05. So I just text him. He's in Nashville. I'm sure he's partying it up right now with Chris Stewart and all the Alabama players. He's going to come on and talk to us as well. And give us a reaction on that. Trey, you're going to bounce back and forth. Chris Hopwood from the sports book, the director, is going to get on with us for a little bit next hour too, and just kind of say, hey, this is what we got going on over here, for the NCAA tournament. Now, for me personally, I'm just going to tell you this. I always wanted to go to Vegas for the NCAA tournament. And a lot of times my buddies would have a bachelor party, and this is the first time where I haven't been broadcasting spring training baseball. Like I've done that forever. And so so the way that it worked out this year, it's just changed. They only did like 10 games and I didn't do them. I did one. So I'm free, right? So I'm like, hey, I can't wait to hang out at the sports book and put just like $5 down and play the odds. I'm going to bet on Bama. Obviously, you guys know I love Bama, where I went to school. Roll Tide. It's going to be fun, though. I love these matchups, Trey. And for those of you that are in Tuscaloosa, it's like an hour and a half drive. Birmingham, 2 hours to get over here. And, they've got like these little kiosks that if you get in there and basically you can bet and watch any game that's going on television. And, those are cool. And then in this big room here where I'm hanging out talking to you, they have like just this wall of TVs and, hockey and baseball and the NASCAR race and all that stuff. So been a lot of fun. All right, look, I'm going to get Brian Pasic lined up here shortly to talk. But Trey, as we look at Alabama taking on Rick Pitino, I'd say Rick Pitino is the most successful coach in the tournament. And he's at Iona. Obviously, things didn't finish up the way that he wanted them to when he was in Louisville, right?
No, yeah.
With everything that went on there. But this dude knows how to coach, man. This is a dangerous matchup, man. I mean, did you ever see the movie Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood?
I didn't. I just watched a Clint Eastwood movie about Alcatraz. It was really good, but I'm not very cultured in the Clint Eastwood movies. I need to see.
Let me set this up for you, and then you talk about it. So Clint Eastwood, for all of you watching, know that this guy's like one of the biggest, cowboy movie stars ever, right? I mean, he took over for John Wayne. I mean, he's like Dirty Harry in those movies. And in this particular movie, he's an old gunfighter. I mean, the guy's like 100 and he's still making movies. But in The Unforgiven, he's an old gunfighter and everybody knows his reputation. Even though he's so old that he has a tough time pulling his gun out, everyone's still scared of him, right? And in actuality, he isn't that dangerous, but everybody just thinks he is. Maybe that's the way we feel about Rick Pitino, because we've seen him at Providence. We've seen him at Kentucky. We've seen him at Louisville, in the NBA. Like, he's done all this stuff. It makes me nervous that Alabama's got to take on his Iona team.
It makes me very nervous too. When I saw that come up, my first thought was, Iona, okay, that's your typical 15. Then I remembered Rick Pitino has recently transitioned to Iona post Louisville, so this team's going to be well coached. That's one thing we know. He doesn't have to go out there and shoot the basketball. So I don't know how much his talents have weathered over the years, but it's not the same Rick Pitino that was with those other programs, and he doesn't have the same talent he had at those programs. And if you're an Alabama fan right now, you're probably thinking you have the best coach in the country, because you probably do. Nate Oats is the things he's done with this roster, the way that they run their offense, the way they run their defense. It's really put Alabama in a position to make a run here. If you kept on the selection show broadcast, you saw the experts making their picks. A lot of them have this Alabama team in the Final Four because I think it's, in part to the region, but also just the way they're playing right now. we saw the defensive efficiency numbers get up into the top 15 for a lot of the season. But I bet if you look at the conference tournament weekend, even really this past week, those last 2 games, Alabama's probably in the top 5, if not the most efficient team on defense right now in the whole country. So I think that's going to take them a long way. I think Iona is going to come out and shoot a lot of threes. That's the Rick Pitino way. But, Alabama does the same thing at a higher rate right now. So you just got to hope they fall. Got to play good defense. We saw a lot of the times in the SEC tournament. I thought we'd see it a little bit more from Mississippi State, but really that Tennessee game, defenses are really playing the lane well. They're guarding the rim very well. But they're making Alabama shoot the 3 ball. A lot of the times this year it's been falling. We'll see if that's the defensive strategy for Iona in this first round game. I have a feeling they'll probably try to go man for man and, keep up with the pace and just try to beat Alabama by shooting the 3 ball. But this one could get slowed down a little bit. I think in either situation, Alabama is built for this. They're the better team. They can handle the situation better. They've been playing much more difficult teams here as of late. So, they're ready for this opportunity. It's going to be interesting to see that first round game, between Maryland and UConn, because depending on how that goes, Alabama really could be looking at a matchup that's not super favorable in Maryland, or a matchup that really looks great in UConn. I think they'll beat a 10 or a 7 any way you draw it in that second round as well. But these first 2 days are going to say a lot about Alabama's path and, who's it going to have to be to get to the Final Four. Any way you draw it, they're 2 seed for a reason. They're SEC champions for a reason, regular season and tournament champs. This team is ready to make a run, and, it's not too late to hop on the bandwagon, everybody. The bracket was just announced. It's just getting started here.
Well, it's exciting for Alabama after they won the SEC tournament, and they did that in the same year that they won the SEC. So it's been a long time. I mean, you're going back to Wimp Sanderson and the success that he had at Alabama as head coach from 1980 to 1992. I mean, that's the last time that Alabama's had Mark Gottfried had a couple years that were pretty good. We'll see what Nate Oats can do, but 2 years of Nate Oats, and it's got a lot of people really believing that this program is about to hit next level status.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so quick. It's insane to think about how fast he has come in and just changed the entire complexion of this program. The first thing he did, I thought this was really cool. When he got to Alabama, he walked into the locker room, met with his players, whatever else. And the culture before, they used to say buckle up. That was the big phrase. They would put that on all the T-shirts, everything else. And in a lot of programs, the gear gets transitioned, whatever. It's got a script A on it. It's good. Not here. When Nate Oats got here, he said, throw out any old Alabama basketball gear you have. Anything you have right now, get it out of here, because we're resetting. We're doing this from ground zero. We're going to make this program into something with a vision, with a really strategic plan, and he's done that. You've seen it in the way he's coaching. You've seen it in the way he's recruiting, the players he's getting to come play here, the transfers, which has really been, an underrated part of this whole thing, getting Keon Ellis to come over, getting Jordan Bruner to come down from Yale, 2 huge players that he's gotten to transfer already, and this will continue. This isn't going anywhere. He's been signed up now. People, if you were skeptical before about the contract, just won the SEC tournament, so I don't think there's, any skepticism left for Nate Oats. We'll see, if the recruits can continue to fall. But I think anyway, whoever he has here, it's going to be his style of player, which he can put into his style of offense. It's a recipe for success. They're not going anywhere, but, they got to focus on round 1 on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, rather, against Iona before they can do anything else. So we'll see what happens. But, this Alabama program is just continues to head in the right direction.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, look, Trey, give them a background of where Alabama is right now going into this matchup while I get Brian Pasic on the phone. And then when I got Brian, I'm going to switch you out with him, all right? But, I mean, just who are the players that you think are going to lead Alabama to the Sweet 16 and further with this team?
The thing I love about this team, and we talked about it a lot throughout the season on Monday Night Quarterback, various shows, whatever. This team doesn't have one player that you have to turn to. You look back to the last time Alabama made the NCAA tournament. It was 2017. It was a really great year for Alabama basketball for a lot of reasons. It was a top 10 recruiting class in the country, but it was centered around one player. It was Colin Sexton, and that was awesome. It was super fun to be a part of. It was actually my freshman year here. That was my welcoming into Alabama basketball. And it was really good basketball, but when that one player didn't show up, that team really struggled. It was, some of the same faces. John Petty was there, Herb Jones was there, but these guys were different. They weren't mature yet. They weren't, they didn't have a lot of direction at that point. They didn't really know what style to play, and that was obvious. Avery Johnson was an excellent coach. He was an excellent recruiter.
Hey, hold on a second. Brian, can you hear us?
Yeah, hold on.
Anyway, Trey. Sorry, Trey.
I got you.
Oh, you're good. It's
Well, good run. But thanks, Trey. I'm going to bring you back on in a little bit. Let me go to Brian Pasic of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. I'm sure still partying it up somewhere in Nashville after Alabama's win. Former basketball player as well for the Crimson Tide. Brian, do you have us?
I got you.
Oh, you sound
Roll
great.
Tide,
Roll Tide, man. How excited are you about this win?
It's really indescribable. I mean, I didn't think I would be this emotional, but I mean, it's really special. It's been a special year. It's a special group. It's been an incredible season, and just so happy for these guys, these seniors, the coaching staff that's done just a remarkable job all season long. But also just for the Alabama basketball family and fan base that they have been through a lot over the last 20 years. There have been some moments for sure, but there have been some ups and downs, and we have had some sad selection Sundays around Alabama basketball nation. But today was one of the best of all time, so I am just enjoying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, before we get into the actual game itself and all that stuff, your partner, great to see Chris Stewart back. And I mean, after all the struggles that he's had, with the health, sounding good, and for you guys to be able to team up and do this really is a blessing from God.
It is, and Chris and I actually 5 minutes before you called, we were just finishing up watching the selection show together, having a cold beverage, and just enjoying the day, and it kind of a cherry on top to what has been an incredible day. But for Chris to be back as he was last year and be able to experience this, on a personal level, from a Crimson Tide Sports Network standpoint, we've been together for 18 years with Chris and Tom Stipe, and now Roger's joined us the last couple of years. But it really is, doing this with one of your best friends. And so that makes it even better. I mean, today was great regardless, but to be able to hear Chris's call, which I heard after the fact, because when we're live in the game, I'm not really listening. I'm more focused in on what's happening, but I've heard the replay of his call at the end of the game. It was spectacular, as you can imagine, and we had a great time today. It was maybe a little more stressful than we would have liked, but I would take a happy heart attack over a depression any day, which if Alabama would have lost that game, it would have been tough. It was a great game, and Alabama it put so much into this season. They've been a championship caliber team in the regular season, and now they're a championship team in the postseason.
No doubt about it. He's Brian Pasic, former Alabama Crimson Tide basketball player. If I'm correct in saying this, Brian, you played for Wimp and then you played for Hobbs, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. So you were there right at the end of the Wimp era. I mean, he's the last guy to really he's the only guy. I mean, I know CM Newton had some good years, but no one had the program rolling like Wimp.
Yeah, I mean, they used to call the SEC tournament the Wimp Sanderson Invitational. And if you go back from 82 to 92, in that 10-year stretch, Alabama went to the championship game of the SEC tournament 9 years, 1-5, just an incredible run. The last time that Alabama won it was in Nashville, just down the street from Bridgestone Arena at Memorial Gymnasium on the campus at Vanderbilt, and that was the last time. So that was an era that was incredible. It's been a long time since Alabama has cut down the nets in the postseason. But we talked about it on the air. There's some similarities between Wimp Sanderson and Nate Oats, and even though the playing style is different, the effort, the toughness that both of those guys demand is off the charts. And without that, Alabama would not have been regular season champs or postseason SEC tournament champs, because the shots weren't falling in Nashville the last couple of games, especially against Tennessee. Alabama just gutted out a win with their hard hat, blue collar mentality, and kind of did the same thing. They hit some big shots late, but got stops when they needed to against a hot LSU team.
I'm a little upset that Alabama isn't a number 1 seed. Where do you fall on that?
Well, I think that the draw is tough, and I think it could have gone either way. I was personally hoping to be on Michigan's side. Whether it's 1 or 2, didn't matter to me. It just matters in terms of what color uniform you wear. But listen, I hope Alabama is playing Michigan for a chance to go to the Final Four. But before that, you look at Iona. They're a team that's coached by a guy that knows what he's doing, in Rick Pitino. He's had a fair amount of success in the NCAA tournament. So you even though it's cliche, you really can't look ahead. You can't look too much at the bracket. I think UConn's a team that I think is really good. I think with Book Knight back, he was hurt the majority of the year, or at least a big part of it. He's one of the best players in college basketball. I think UConn would have been a much higher seed had he been healthy all year long. So if Alabama can get by Iona, that's a tough draw in round 2, assuming that UConn gets past Maryland, which is something I would predict. But listen, you're a 2 seed. You just won a regular season and SEC title. There is an argument to be made that this team maybe should have been a 1 seed. Hopefully they play with a chip on their shoulder and feel like they were slighted. I think that's a great mindset to have, and I wouldn't blame them for it. But as far as from my standpoint, just as a fan, listen, we've had a lot of tough selection Sundays over the years. I'm going to celebrate being a 2 seed.
He's Brian Pasic from the Crimson Tide Sports Network, former Alabama basketball players. You hang out with us. I'm at Pearl River Resort here in Choctaw, Mississippi. Philly, hanging out at the sports book, watching the game. I knew how excited you guys were going to be to see Alabama win. We've had this debate. What's bigger, the regular season or the tournament championship?
It's a great question. And, listen, it's I guess, is that like asking you to choose between your kids? I mean, we've got 2 championships, and I love them both in different ways. So, I think that may be the best answer. But I'll tell you this, for me, I think the regular season title proves that you are the best team for a number of months. And those are so hard to come by. I mean, the SEC titles are too. But you can get hot in a year, and we've seen that. Look at Georgetown; they weren't anywhere close to an NCAA tournament team. But and I hate to straddle the fence here, but there's something to be said for what you do over a number of months. But also, this college basketball or basketball is a tournament sport, and so that's special as well. So to answer your question, I love them both. I love them equally, and I am excited that Alabama has gotten to cut down the nets twice in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun. Let me ask you this. What's Nate Oats like as a person? And what's it like traveling with Alabama? I know you guys really haven't gotten to do a lot of that this year because of COVID, but the time that you've been around Nate Oats as a guy, what kind of person is he?
He's the best. I mean, listen, if Alabama would have struggled this year and lost a bunch of games, I would tell you the exact same thing. He's just a genuine that has the mindset of being an old high school coach and a math teacher. I mean, he is, from the people I've talked to, and I know some people who've been around him since his time at Romulus High School in Michigan, he hasn't changed a bit. And I can believe it because there's just such a humility that he has, and it's genuine. He's the SEC Coach of the Year. He's a potential National Coach of the Year. His team just won the SEC regular season tournament championship, and he's the same person. He's fun to be around. As you mentioned, we didn't get to travel this year, which has been tough. Listen, COVID's been tough on a lot of things, and so just from a sports standpoint, a lot of people have bigger, things that have gone wrong, and I understand that. But just strictly from a sports standpoint, it was tough for us not traveling. But I understand why we weren't able to. But Nate Oats is a great person. He is one of the best basketball coaches in the country, without a doubt. But he's a better person.
So when Alabama extended his contract, you thought that, hey, they better do this now because someone might come and steal him away.
Yeah, and listen, how about let's give Greg Byrne a ton of credit. First of all, when there was an opening, he made a beeline to Buffalo, New York, where not a lot of people, maybe nationally, knew exactly who Nate Oats was at the time. But he knew that he would be a great fit at Alabama because of the success he had as a college coach at the mid-major level, style of play. He knew how much Alabama fans would love the blue-collar mentality. They love, Alabama fans love teams that play hard. They love winners. They love championship teams. You get all that with Nate Oats. And it was a great job to know where you wanted to go, to get Nate Oats in Tuscaloosa, and then it was pretty obvious that this thing is rolling, and it's not a one-year deal. I'm not saying Alabama's going to win championships every year. They're hard to come by. But when you look at the guys that are returning, back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes, and the style of play and the fact that high school players around the country, and really internationally as well, you've got a couple of guys from Canada, and hopefully some more, by the way, that want to play for Alabama and want to play the style, and cutting down the nets and championship rings and confetti coming down on you doesn't hurt recruiting at all. This thing is rolling, and I don't see this thing slowing down much, if at all, in the near future.
Brian, thank you for coming on. Make sure you tell Chris that I said hey. I'm just really as excited as I am for Alabama. I'm excited for you guys to have got to spend that after everything that Chris went through, and you kind of being the point guard on telling us as all of that was going on. And, thank God that Chris is still here and you guys are going to get to go to are you going in person to Indianapolis? I guess I'm assuming that, but I'm thinking that you guys will be there for the tournament.
Yeah, we are. And so, listen, we were so excited to be in Nashville. We haven't traveled all year other than doing home games. So we were thrilled to be in the building this week at the SEC tournament, and we'll be heading to Indianapolis next week. Can't wait to get there. It's been a special year, and even more so being able to do it with one of my best friends, Chris Stewart.
Hey, Brian, roll tide to all you guys. Great calls. I've enjoyed it, even when you've been at Baumhauer's Wings, listening to you guys on the radio. And I know that you love this program as much as anybody, more than anybody, honestly, I've ever met. And I've been around Alabama a long time. So I know you're excited about it. Thanks for spending some of your celebration time with us. Good luck with everything, and roll tide, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a great day, and I appreciate you having me. And roll tide. Roll
tide. That's Brian Pasic. All right, guys, look, when we come back, I'm going to play this quick spot. We're going to bring on Chris Hopwood. He's the sports book director. We're going to talk a little bit about how things go here in the casino in case you're interested in swinging over to the sports book for the NCAA tournament. So just hang with us and thumbs up and subscribe as you watch on the Alabama rival site, BamaInsider. There's 50,000 of you guys as subscribers on our YouTube channel. This is why we do these type of shows, because of you guys.
Get in on the action at Pearl River Resort. New members get $50 of free play on us. Or if you haven't played with us since 2018, we're inviting you to come back and play. $50 on us. See Players Club for details.
Where's our sports fans? Place your bets now at the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. From the first pitch to the final down, the toss-up to the knockout, and everything in between, we'll keep you in action all season long. Play, win, repeat. Only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casino's Pearl River Resort properties.
Hey, guys, hanging out with you from Pearl River Resort and the Timeout Sports Lounge. I'm Mick Gillespie. It's been a lot of fun. This is our watch party. We're waiting to see what seed Alabama was. They're going to be a 2 versus a 15. And when Alabama has big games, our guest here, Chris Hopwood, who is the sportsbook director, gets hammered, man. All the Alabama fans show up. Good to see you again, Chris.
Nice to be here.
And thanks for the hospitality. I yesterday went to Mama and Them Southern Bar. I had oysters and deviled eggs and a burger and an old fashioned. It's good setup. It's a brand new restaurant in here.
Brand new, large meals.
Very
large
portions. Yeah. Well, I'm not eating the bread right now as part of my diet, but let's talk about March Madness. This has been kind of a dream of mine. Normally working in baseball, I was always busy during tournament time. And before, the only place you could do this was Vegas, right?
Right.
Now, things have changed. You can come right here to Philadelphia, Choctaw, Mississippi, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2.5 hours from Birmingham, or wherever you guys might be. And basically you can bet on all the games and watch them right here. They're going to be all on TV at the same time.
Yeah, it's all going to be on TV. We also have our center bars open now, so that's our smoking venue in case customers want to go out there and watch it. Mom and M's you saw their little bar they have set up in there.
No, it's a nice bar.
And then we also have a huge poker tournament going on that will be going on that same week. That's just starting up. That I think it's $300,000 guaranteed for the whole tournament.
What's really cool, and I'm kind of like getting into this. I'm one of these guys, even $5 here, $10 there, but it's always fun. I do it for the entertainment value. Is that there's a ton of different ways to bet now.
Right. So you still have the future bets open to who's going to win the tournament itself. You guys probably interested right now. Alabama's 18-1 for us, which is kind of probably a little bit high with the popularity we have with our Alabama crowds. But we have the normal bets that you would have in Vegas with the straight bets on the teams. You can do the parlays on different events. Mm-hmm. We're planning on having prop bets on players during the game. So we're working on that. So we're hoping to get that available before Thursday.
Well, you got the kiosks. You got a person that you can just walk up to if you're unsure and, have the bet card. And then you have the what are those things called? The
crystal betting terminals.
Crystal bet. Yeah, they're awesome.
Right. Right there, because we're probably only going to have sound on one of the games. With those TVs, you're going to be able to listen to whatever game you want to listen to. You plug a headset into and listen to the game. You have your own 27-inch TV. It has the in-play betting going on during the game. It will be linked to the TV channel which you're watching. So it's fun. You can do the same thing you do on the regular kiosk, but it's more of a VIP experience with those terminals.
I got down here early this morning and placed my bets, right? And when I did, I spent $60. They hand me a thing that, like a little slip, that if I want to go play Dancing Rabbit, I can do it for $30. That's right. A great deal. That's an awesome golf course.
Right. There are beautiful golf courses over there. And right now it runs through the end of this month. So March 31st it ends because our season picks up over there. But any $50 bet, they get the card and they go play golf for $30.
Yeah, and that's like the Augusta you can play. It's Mississippi's top golf course. So I was telling Kyle Henderson, who's on our site today, I'm like, hey, we got to come over here during football season. And he's like, hey, look, I'd love to come over and play some golf. So that's you got that. You also got the water park, I guess, with COVID kind of going out. Like, that'll be back open soon.
Yeah, they're doing the repairs and doing the painting and everything like that. They can get that up and ready. So that should be hopefully ready for the summertime for all our crowds to come and spend the summer here with us.
They did $600,000 of capital investments here, and a lot of that was to keep people safe through COVID. And I know that there's going to be, as the vaccines, more people are getting the vaccine, maybe less concerned, but some people are still concerned about that. And I've been really impressed with how seriously they have taken that here.
Yeah, we still have limited seating here. We cut our seating. It was probably about to 70%. We do want to expand it a little bit now, but we still have our guests that are worried about with COVID. That's why we have the other venues with the center bar and Mom and M's and kind of spreading them out. And then, of course, with the mobile app, anywhere on premises, you can bet without having to stand in lines or getting congested. And then, like you said, what we've spent to keep everyone safe, and from what we've seen with the rest of the casinos, we've probably done more than anybody else and have kept that in place the whole time.
Well, it's obviously been a weird time.
Right.
And I'm sure you're glad that we're kind of towards the end of this now. Last year, think about last year, I'm at spring training. I'm supposed to work Cubs games. Boom, I go home. Tournament's done. They throw their hands up in the, towards the end of the basketball tournaments. you must have been freaked out at that point, right? Running the sports book when all of a sudden there's no sports.
Yeah, when the NBA first decided that they're done playing, and everyone else just followed suit, and I mean it was rough for us because for me, the NCAA tournament is probably the most fun event that we have to deal with. I mean, the Super Bowl is just one day. This is usually almost a month-long event, and especially that first weekend with all the games going on. To lose that because of what everyone's been dealing with, it was rough, but it's fun to have it back now. I mean, we're just fun to go through this. The schedule's going to be a little bit different, though, with them starting the tournament with the playing games on Thursday and then playing through Monday instead of having it the weekend. And so that's going to be a little different to see how that the guests react to that, playing on the second round on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah. So basically, you got games on Thursday, games on Friday, games on Saturday,
The second round starts Sunday, Monday.
Right. So it's like all from Thursday until Monday games.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. And then on top of that, what I love about I thought this was just kind of the perfect event to talk about and to work with you guys on is that you come into this room and I mean, you just, you got all the games there. I mean, it's like, like you're not like having to try to work to find a spot to see the games. I mean, they're just everywhere. Like I was trying to find the bracket and it was on the far TV. And then I looked over here and I'm like, oh, it's there and there, that's it. This place has TVs everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we have 20 TVs to put events on. We have the 13 TVs behind the bar that we are focused on. But, we try to spread everything out. And then during the tournament, usually there's only 4 games that go on at a time. I haven't quite looked at that schedule to see how it's going to work out. But there's usually not more than 4 games at a time, which we can easily spread out around the room and let everyone watch.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to add?
I'm just hoping to have a fun time.
You're going to have a fun time.
I mean, we're looking forward to it. And like you said, anytime Alabama's winning, it's almost like Alabama football for us here.
Yeah.
I mean, we have great crowds, and we're kind of rooting against Alabama, but not rooting against them because we wanted to see the crowd stay. But I don't know. We're having fun with it, especially this past week with the SEC tournament. It was fun with the crowds we had rooting for Alabama.
Alabama will play Iona on Saturday, and then they'll play the winner of UConn and Maryland. That could be a really interesting second round matchup. Bama a 2 versus a 15, and it always feels like home court advantage for Alabama fans. I've watched football games here. I've watched Deontay Wilder fight here. There's a ton of Alabama people. So it's like even though we're technically in Mississippi, it always feels to me like we're in Tuscaloosa.
Well, I mean, during football season, if we don't let Nick Saban speak before we change the channel, we start getting people yelling at us. So it's definitely Alabama here during Alabama games.
But if you come into the sports book, the Timeout Sports Lounge, make sure you say hi to Chris Hopwood. And the next week when the tournament starts, it'd be a great time to swing over here. And again, if you play golf, get your buddies together. And if you spend $50, you play the golf course for $30. And check it out online. I mean, all you got to do is Google it, Dancing Rabbit. You're going to find out that it's just an awesome golf course. It's a great deal. That ends on March 31st. So running out of time on that. Chris, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, it's been great having me here.
Awesome. And we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is a blast doing these shows.
Awesome. Well, listen, what I'm going to do now, guys, as I kind of dip back over here, I'm going to bring Tony and Trey on, and I'm going to dip off. Guys, I've been on here nonstop for an hour and a half, so I've got to go to the bathroom. So that means I got to take a time out. So you guys, why don't you guys talk about basketball, and I'll return shortly. How's that sound?
That sounds good, Mickey. I think you have a well-deserved break ahead of you.
We just did an hour and a half straight, and we still have Charlie from Charlie's Choice Cuts is going to come on and talk to us, give us some of his picks. I mean, we are hanging out at the Timeout Sports Lounge. So I need some insight on how to gamble, and obviously now that you've written that story, Tony, you got a lot to talk about.
Sure thing.
Tony, what's up?
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's going well. How do you feel about this NCAA tournament field? This has been weird. I haven't been able to get on with you yet. We talked for a while. Mick and you and Mick talked for a while. What are your thoughts so far on this?
Man, there's a lot of interesting, kind of aspects to this, right? So first of all, Iona is kind of a neat first round game because you got Rick Pitino, a 2-time NBA champion. So that's like not your average, 15 seed maybe. Then if you get past that, you might play a UConn team. You look at the last time Alabama was like really a force heading into the tournament. They got knocked out by a UConn team, so that could be another storyline. Look, it's very unlikely, but Alabama could end up playing LSU for a 4th time this season. It seems like they're locked in again. So that's another. I don't think LSU is going to get past Michigan on that side of the bracket, but that's another team that I think. Look, we've seen this LSU team; they can score. So that's another fun team to watch as well. And Maryland as a number 10, if they were able to beat UConn, I think that could be a fun matchup as well. So it's kind of a fun bracket when you look at it.
It really is. And the regions I feel like are super different. Like, you take the one region, I can't remember the name of it. It was the second region announced. I think it was the South, where Baylor's at the top. That region is just loaded down throughout. And then there's other regions that aren't as crazy. Bama's region is interesting to me because Michigan is the 1 seed. This is a Michigan team that just lost their conference title. Bama just won their conference title and is, on a little bit of a streak themselves here. Who do you think? I guess, which team worries you the most out of this region? Outside of UConn, let's say, they get to the Sweet 16. Do you start to worry about anybody other than Michigan, or is that the one team you really have to lock in on? Obviously, you can't look ahead or anything like that if you're Alabama, but this region just doesn't seem to be as deadly as the other regions.
No, it really doesn't. It's pretty manageable. I mean, look, Texas as a number 3 seed. I mean, Texas is not a bad team, but I think as a number 3 seed, I think they're kind of manageable. I know they just won the Big 12 tournament, but I mean, they also, would they have won it if Kansas hadn't had to bow out? Who knows? I think Texas might be a team that you'd look at, but I don't necessarily see them as somebody that Alabama can't get past. I think when you're looking at this bracket, there's a good chance that Alabama, gets through it and gets to Michigan. It's probably going to be one of those two teams, and I think there's a chance that that Alabama could get there.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, this has been a season of destiny for so many reasons, and they're getting hot again. That's one thing I think that this team, lives off of is just the energy that carries from day to day. It was perfect for the SEC tournament. I think it really works for tournament style play. So we'll see how they handle it. We had Nikayla Dawn here in the comments a minute ago asking about some Cinderellas. Who do you have as your biggest Cinderella stories? Maybe pick 2 or 3 teams here. And she was also wondering who your final 8 is. So I guess let's pick some Cinderellas. Let's pick an Elite 8. Let's start with Cinderellas.
I've been so focused on Alabama and getting that story out that I haven't really gotten to examine the whole bracket. I typed it all out and put it in our story. Trying to look through, Cinderellas of teams that I think, that could make a run. Yeah, I mean, why don't you tell me yours, and we'll go through it.
Yeah, it's even, you want to look at the the bracket when you're picking out Cinderellas, just because the matchups are so important for this whole thing. But you look at other teams individually as well. I think one team that really gets me kind of excited this year, just because of their draw and kind of the way they've been playing, is Winthrop University. They lost 1 game this season on the road early on in their season. And outside of that, they dominated everybody they played. They match up with Villanova in the first round. And this is a Villanova team that probably should have been seeded higher. They were injured throughout the season. They were missing their best player at times. But they've struggled to kind of regain that rhythm as an offense. And I think Winthrop can maybe catch them slipping. That's one team, if they figure out a way to get past Villanova. They do have to play a Purdue team that's looked really good in recent weeks, but I think that's, pretty manageable as well. And then once you get past there, you've already made it to the Sweet 16 and you're having to take on a really good Baylor team. So, maybe not anything past that, but I like that team early on in the tournament. Looking around it here, I mean, Oklahoma State's a 4 seed, but that's a team I could see really making a run.
I was going to go right above that on that. I was going to go Tennessee is a team that I think, I don't know if you want to call them a possible Cinderella at number 5, but they're a team that has more talent than their record would indicate. They gave Alabama, a really close game. I mean, I really think Tennessee should have ended up winning that game, but they weren't able to, sustain the same intensity as they had in the first half against Alabama. But I think that's a team that could make a run. You look at Georgia Tech too as a team that could possibly make a run. That Midwest bracket is kind of an interesting one. Like you said, it has Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Loyola. I mean, that's an interesting bracket when I look at it.
Yeah, it really is. And the bracket above that is really interesting too. Just such a hard region there in the South. If you're an Alabama fan, though, I think you really feel good. I mean, Gonzaga is obviously the team that you will have to play in the Final Four if you get there, and they do as well. And that's a team that has looked far and away like the best team in the country this season. But, you don't have to play them in the Elite Eight. You get to play them in the Final Four. And then if you somehow figure a way to win that game, you're looking at maybe Baylor, Illinois, and not many other teams on that other side that are really deadly at the top, or teams that you at least, wouldn't be favored to win the game in. Georgetown's another team I want to point out here. They're maybe the hottest team in this bracket right now. This was a team that was not being considered to make the tournament at all. This was a team that had struggled. They had been a little bit inconsistent. Patrick Ewing's Georgetown Hoyas now. But they figured it out in the tournament. They beat Villanova. They would go on to win the conference tournament and get this automatic bid. I don't know if this run has legs for the tournament. In the first round here, I liked the matchup. Let me find it again. The 64-team bracket is just so overwhelming to look at sometimes. They take on Colorado in the first round, and that's another team that a lot of people aren't talking about. That's a really talented group. They lost 8 games this season, but have 22 wins too and won their conference. I believe they won their conference. They were in the final at least. I didn't get a check on the end of that. A lot of scores going around today, but that's a good ball club out there in Colorado. Really interesting first-round matchup. LSU, again, like you're talking about, being in Bama's region, that's a really interesting one. They take on St. Bonaventure as an 8 seed. You look at a lot of these teams and you wonder these last 2 days how much that changed the seeding. Oklahoma being an 8 is another interesting one. I mean, that's a team that beat Alabama earlier this season. The 8 and the 9 seeds, I think, are all really, really talented clubs, and I think provide for really good games here. Which matchups do you like the best in this first round? I'll start.
Another one before you go. We've seen this, and I know Houston's the number 2 seed, but we've seen this Houston team look not the best against weaker opponents. They've dropped a couple games. They lost to Tulsa. That was a while back, but it'd be interesting to see if you're looking for teams capable of losing, crazy games, that maybe a Cleveland State, Houston, just based on maybe if Houston doesn't come out to play, that could be an interesting matchup as well.
Yeah, no doubt. We got Mick back on the line here. Gave him his time off. He's hot back.
I'm back, guys. Nice job. Nicely done. Just sitting here chopping it up about basketball and like the tournament and the bracket and Bama being a number 2 seed for the 3rd time in program history. It's awful exciting. So I've got Charlie Walter from Charlie's Choice Cuts. He works with, you may know him from some stuff he does with the Cincinnati Reds, and he's got a bunch of other stuff he does too. But he's going to come on and he's going to kind of help us break down some of these games. He's a guy that knows that, he's pretty much a sharp at this point in his life. So, Tony, before we let you go, anything else you got? I mean, excellent work today, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. It was fun. That game was fun to watch as well. I mean, I haven't seen I haven't been that entertained by a basketball game in a while. I was that end of your seat kind of stuff. I hope Alabama has the same. Maybe not in all the games, but it'd be nice to kind of see one of those games and Alabama pull out one of those in the NCAA tournament as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, we'll talk to you on Monday. That's tomorrow, right? Monday night.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the Monday Night Quarterback Crew.
Yeah, here we go.
All right. Look, Tony, great job. Thanks, man. Thanks for jumping on tonight.
Yeah, you guys do well.
All right, brother. See ya.
You, Tony.
Tony Sukal is there, beat writer for BamaInsider. All right, look, Trey, I'm gonna hit the button one more time because I hang out at Pearl River Resort. I want to ask all of you guys that are still with us to give us a thumbs up, subscribe as we talk basketball. Trey, you're going to bounce, but not for good. We're going to talk to Charlie, and then you and I are going to come back on, and we're going to put a bow on this show. Does that sound good?
That sounds great to me. You guys have a good conversation. I'll talk to everybody in a little bit.
It's going to be a lot to talk about right after this.
Get in on the action at Pearl River Resort. New members get $50 of free play on us. Or if you haven't played with us since 2018, we're inviting you to come back and play. $50 on us. See Players Club for details.
Where's our sports fans? Place your bets now at the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. From the first pitch to the final down, the toss-up to the knockout, and everything in between, we'll keep you in action all season long. Play, win, repeat. Only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos, Pearl River Resort Properties.
Alabama, number 2 seed. It's great to have Charlie Walter join us from the West Coast. There he is on the screen. I see your picture. Charlie's Choice Cuts. That's your weekly basketball pick segment. One week you went 11-0 on that. First off, brother, thanks for coming on and talking a little bit of Alabama basketball and college basketball.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Actually, that 11-game parlay I hit that changed my life back in 2017. The earnings 100% gone. I received those earnings from college football, and let's just say that college basketball over the years slowly has deteriorated my spirit.
Yeah, right. Well, look, right off the bat, you're on BamaInsider, and that means that the majority of the people that are watching right now are huge Alabama fans. I thought Alabama had a really good shot at a number 1 seed if they won both tournaments or the regular season and the tournament. That did not happen. Your thoughts on Bama not getting to number 1 as a number 2, the seeding, the region, all that stuff?
Well, you introduced me as a Red guy. Mick, I got some Alabama ties. WSFA 12 Sports, Montgomery back in the days. Retno Basahan was the star when I was in town. Alabama didn't have a good team whatsoever. So to see them now as a 2 seed under Nate Oats, I mean, what a job he's done. They're going up against Slick Rick in the first round. Tough matchup there. After that, though,
where is Iona? Hold on a second. Where is Iona? Is it a suburb of like New York City or something?
Plus 750 odds that I know that one. I have no idea. I would guess
New Rochelle. Like, there it is, right there. Thanks, C-Roll. Look, man. I mean, when it came up Iona, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You don't get the number 1, and now you got to tangle with Rick Pitino.
Yeah, you hate that, but it's still Iona. The only team that really played that was competitive all season. I actually had some money on Iona taking down Seton Hall at the beginning of the year, thinking that Pitino would do it for me, and the Pirates came out in the second half and just absolutely beat the brakes off them. So I'm expecting Alabama to take care of business. And then Maryland, Connecticut, you can't complain about that 7-10 matchup. I know Connecticut's pretty hot, but still, if you stop Boat Night, Connecticut is still the Connecticut of the last few years, in my opinion. They're nothing special. What I like about their bracket, potentially letting them advance to the Elite Eight, is I think watch out for that 14 seed Abilene Christian, maybe upsetting Texas. I think the winner of that one may boast I'm not going to say boast the toughest challenge for Alabama, because Abilene Christian will probably lose in the second round if they do win. But you got to watch out for them. Joe Golden is a guy that, with a win, he could get a Power 5 job. I was actually at their first NCAA tournament game they ever played down in Jacksonville when they played Kentucky a few years back. But since then, they've been on the rise. They played, I think it was Texas Tech and Arkansas, real tough at the beginning of the year. They lost to Texas Tech by maybe 6, Arkansas by 8 or 9. I don't want to say. Look, at this point, if I know these Abilene Christian teams, at some point I had action on them going throughout the year. But Abilene Christian's tough. That may help Alabama out, and maybe you see BYU in the Sweet 16 or something. But Alabama, if they're hitting their shots, they have as good a shot as anyone at getting to the Final Four. I really believe that.
Hanging out with Charlie Walters. We've been on since the brackets were revealed. This is our watch party for the NCAA Tournament Bama number 2 seed. What do you like about this Alabama team? What makes them go? What makes them dangerous in your eyes?
Well, one thing that I like, the power of emotion in college sports is huge. And you heard Nate Oats talking after that win today, and they got some Alabama kids on the team. I mean, John Petty's been through a lot. He's with his second coach now. I like the shooting abilities. Herb Jones is, he just continues to get better and better. Overall, you saw it yesterday in the Tennessee game. They couldn't hit a shot. And that's a good Tennessee team. And they just found other ways to get the job done. Their defense was solid. They hit the glass. They hit big shots when it mattered. I really love Quinterly. I think he kind of has had his breakout party in the SEC tournament. I'm sure you agree with that statement. He's been nice. He's starting to play up to the potential that he had as a McDonald's All-American. Saw him down in Atlanta in that McDonald's All-American game when he was with Villanova. Obviously, tough career there. But he's starting to put the pieces together. Look, this is an Alabama team that has a lot of talent. And you look at their region, you got Michigan as the number 1 seed. Florida State's in there. I mean, I don't want to say a cakewalk, because you got to win, 3-4 games to get to the Final Four. But you look at the other side and some of the other regions, Alabama's got it set up pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean, like right now it's Bama, Iona, the 215, Connecticut, Maryland, 7-10. You got BYU as the 6, and Mississippi State, UCLA are in the 11 playing game, so they'll play to see who plays BYU. Texas, you mentioned that.
Irrelevant.
Right, mentioned Texas, Abilene Christian, which you said Abilene Christian has a chance. I mean, look, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them against the Big 12 champs, Shaka Smart. And that's the East bracket. Now, the top part of Alabama's bracket, Michigan, playing game, the 116. LSU, St. Bonaventure is the 8-9 game. Colorado, Georgetown, the Hoyas. And then you got Florida State and UNC Greensboro is the 4-13.
Look, my mom beats me in my bracket just about every single year. I watch every single collegiate hoops game, and it doesn't seem to help me come March. But you look at the teams that are successful this time of the year, they have good guard play. Aside from maybe Virginia, who had Kyle Guy, and they were just an all-around good team. But it's usually teams that hit shots, you know? A team like St. Bonaventure, I don't think their length and athleticism, I don't think they're going to get it done. LSU can hit some shots. Maybe LSU upsets Michigan in that second round. If not, I think you could see some chalk here and see that 1-2 in the Elite Eight with Alabama against Michigan. And then if you get to that point, you don't hate that matchup.
No doubt. All right, looking at the rest of the tournament, are there any other games for those that are listening? I mean, we are at Pearl River Resort in the Timeout Sports Lounge. I'm going next week and I'm going to do the same thing for the first round of the tournament that I did today. And that's I'm going to spend $5-10 betting on all the games. I'm just going to put the money down just for fun. I mean, it was, it's not going to kill me. And it's honestly made watching just a great time. Are there any games that you would recommend for other people that are like filling out their bracket, whether it's, the office pool, or they're going to do the same thing as I'm doing right here at Pearl River?
Yeah, disclaimer, I gave Nick Cincinnati plus 13 today. That's why you never bet with your heart. Here's what I have. Before this tournament even started, I got my ticket in Gonzaga plus 250 to win it all. I don't know if it's gone down or up based on the drawing. Haven't looked in the last hour, but I got this in yesterday. I think Gonzaga, and it's tough because I don't love picking a team that's undefeated and would have to run the table and be the first team since Bobby Knight's squad back in the day. But with that being said, there's just so much talent. There's so many ways they can beat you. If Suggs goes out with a couple fouls, you rely on Kispert, who's the modern-day Kyle Korver. You got Timmy down low. You got Nimhard, who's a big-time player. I mean, all around, they just have so many guys that could beat you. So I'm taking Gonzaga over the field. Illinois is playing their best basketball of the season right now. But what worries me about Illinois isn't necessarily their entire bracket. It's that second-round matchup with Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago can shoot, and they have, I don't know if you remember, Mick, Sister Jean's probably going to be in attendance. She's going to find a way to be in Indianapolis. It's kind of a home team for both of those teams. If Illinois can get past them, they're going to have the most fans throughout this entire tournament. They've waited a long time, these fans have, since Dee Brown and Darren Williams and that squad, Luther Head, to really have a chance in this NCAA tournament. And they have a shot to cut down the nets. They really do. But I think that second round matchup, if Loyola Chicago can win that 8-9, they're a team to watch out for because they shoot at 38% from deep. They have some veterans, and they have a coach that's been there before.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you put me on the Cincinnati train today, and that train derailed. But Houston looked like an NBA team, and I feel like they could beat anybody. I mean, like the way they were creating shots in the lane, and I mean, like how fast they were. Maybe they just had a great day. But that team, I mean, just seeing them today, I was very impressed.
Here's the thing about Houston. They have a Hall of Fame coach. Kelvin Sampson took Oklahoma to the Final Four back in the day, so he's been there before. The stage not too big for him. You look 3-4 years ago, Houston was looking like they were going to upset Michigan in the first round. I think it was maybe Xavier Simpson hit that deep three to send Houston home packing. A year later, Houston was a 3 seed. They had Kentucky in the Sweet 16. Tyler Hero hit a big shot late. Sent Houston home, late in the contest. This is kind of the year they can break through. It's the same core of people they've had, Giroux, down low. I'm forgetting his name right now. They have Sasser, the point guard, Quentin Grimes, Kansas transfer, another McDonald's All-American from that crop that's really figured it out. They're just, when they're hitting shots, they're as good as anyone in the country. How in the hell they lost to East Carolina and Tulsa, I have no idea, because, Cincinnati wasn't horrible this year. They played Tennessee and some other teams tough. They really didn't get run off the floor much. Houston beat them by a combined 75 points in 2 games. I mean, they look tough.
So is there any other matchup that you want to talk about? Maybe I know you pay attention to the other teams in the SEC, maybe a Tennessee or a Florida or an Arkansas. Are there any teams that you feel like under the SEC brand going into this that could make a run, and why?
Well, for anyone out there that likes throwing a little on the games, Colgate, Arkansas, I don't know what the total is going to be, but that's already an over. That's over city written all over it. That's going to be a fun one that maybe Arkansas could go down to the 14th seeded Colgate. I don't love Tennessee. I've seen them a couple times. Obviously, I think Fulkerson's going to be back, and they're a solid team. They got a pretty nicely set up bracket with potentially Liberty or Oklahoma State to where they could win a couple games. But eventually, I think they're going to meet Illinois, because I do think the Illini are going to take down Loyola Chicago. And if not, they get Loyola Chicago in that rematch from when Tennessee had Williams and Schofield and had that shot to get to the Final Four, and Loyola Chicago made their presence known on the national stage. But looking around the entire bracket, it's weird, because 2 years ago, it was all chalk. It was the first year in history that Barack Obama had the best bracket in the entire nation, because that he just takes every single higher seed to win every game. And that actually happened the last time we played. So being an odds guy that I am, I think we're going to see some upsets this year. Some COVID issues may give Virginia a problem, and Ohio U, the alma mater of one Charlie Walter, may make a run in this tournament. Missouri's going down to Oklahoma, going through the entire bracket. I think LSU is one to watch out for. They're playing good basketball right now after hitting a little lull. And then I think the team that's dangerous from the SEC is Alabama. There's no question about it that at every position they have what it takes to compete. It just all comes down to, can they hit shots? And Alabama's a team that when they are hitting shots, they're as elite as any team in the country. And if that happens, then watch out. They got the bracket to march on.
Well, Charlie, thank you for coming on. Good to hear your voice, my friend. Let's do it again.
Gonzaga against the field, plus 260, folks. Lock it in.
You're going to have to jump back on with me next Sunday and just see how your
when
bracket's
they lose
going.
First round of Norfolk State or whatever.
Everybody's going to be remembering you and coming after you. But, yeah, man, make plans of jumping back on with me again here soon, all right?
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, thanks, Charlie. That's Charlie Walter. Charlie's Choice Cuts. That's what he calls his his gambling site, where he puts up the odds. He's Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillespie. We have been on for almost 2 hours, my friend, as we've been hanging out here at the Pearl River Resort Timeout Sports Lounge. A couple things I want to tell you is that Mama and Them Southern Table and Bar is a brand new restaurant for those of you that have been here before. Maybe you haven't checked it out. I went there last night for dinner, and let me tell you, it was great. Did the oysters, did the deviled eggs. It were great. Had an old fashioned, which is a bourbon drink, and a good time. It's the newest restaurant at Golden Moon Casino. They call it Southern Dining Refined. So they've got the charbroiled oysters, fried chicken, brisket, and a bunch of other great desserts, which I'd had to stay away from, and a bunch of Old Smoky moonshine, which is pretty cool as well. All right, Trey, not that I'm trying to make your mouth water. For those of you that are still hanging out with us, thumbs up, roll tide, everybody. Bama's a 2 seed. They're going to play Rick Pitino and Iona on Saturday. Next Saturday, this is the spot to be for the game at the Timeout Sports Lounge. Trey, I mean, we have gone through it. You got the bracket up there now. Alabama would win that one. They'd have to play Maryland or Connecticut. Those are two big-time teams that have won national championships in their school history for basketball.
Yeah, I mean, these matchups are really interesting in Alabama's bracket. And before I get started, I mean, my mouth is really watering here. You're making me want to go grab some dinner. So I'm going to have to do that when we get off here. But it really is an interesting region for Alabama. This UConn team has looked a lot different with their best player and without him. And Knight's returning for the NCAA tournament. So that, like when Brian was on just a little bit ago, that could create a very interesting matchup for Alabama. Let's say Maryland gets past UConn. I think that might be on paper a worse matchup, in some instances, but the way Alabama's playing recently, I don't think so. Their hands have been so quick on defense, and I think they could really expose a team like Maryland. But we talk about the tournament in general, and we had Mark Monroe just a minute ago ask about the COVID protocols. So, from what we're hearing, and Mr. Pasic just said that he's going to be there. So they will, allow some outside, people not around the team into this one. But when players arrive, they will be cleared to travel before, going to Indianapolis. They will be tested again when they get there. They're going to be placed into a, quarantine if they do test positive until they can get 4 negative tests. Once they are cleared and they're good, they will wear a safe tag device. They say it's about the size of a domino. It weighs less than 1 ounce. They're going to wear that at all times. That will assist with the contact tracing and everything else. They can put that in their pockets, whatever. Let's say teams have an outbreak and they can't play. Should any teams be selected and then, they have some kind of crazy instance or even 1 or 2 players, the NCAA says that they will take the highest rank team. They're basically going to put, maybe 5 or 6 teams aside as backup teams. They're going to take the highest ranked of those teams and sub them right in. That's why you hear Duke's name still kind of in this conversation, because there's a chance that a team between now and Friday is affected by COVID, or at some point, before the first round gets started here. Because once the tournament has started, these things are going to change, and the NCAA is still trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do. But pre-tournament, if a team does have an outbreak, they will swap in a team and they will, take over for that. There is a loose, significant replacement plan is what they're calling it. No seedings will change if a team is affected, after the tournament has begun. The incoming team that is now being subbed in will assume their seeding. They will assume their position in the bracket and will go on from there. So, for example, if Gonzaga receives the number 1 seed, they're forced out. The team swapped in will take over the number 1 seed and have to play out the rest of their deal. So that's a loose, COVID protocol deal there. Thanks for all the comments, Mark, everybody getting in the comments. But, we're going to kind of figure it out, I think, as it goes here. This is going to be a tournament different than any tournament that we've seen. This is at one location. I think, it takes away from the fun and the madness of going around to the different regions. And back in 2017, my hometown hosted a region and, got a lot of people involved. They got the community involved. It's an awesome deal. This is going to be different, but I think it adds to it as well. Every team is going to be in the same city. Every team is going to be playing one after another, and the games are going to be happening a little bit quicker than they do in regular years. So this tournament is different, but I think it provides some fun challenges too. And, this next week is going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, hopefully,
Alabama doesn't have any issues with COVID. And I got to say this, kind of along the same lines. Congratulations to the SEC, Greg Sankey, the commissioner, all the coaches, all the players. They got through the entire year and in through the tournament, football now men's basketball, without COVID really being a huge impact. I mean, and that took a lot of hard work and discipline, and guys had to stick to the game plan, So not just Alabama, but all the different teams for, doing that and giving us the entertainment that we got, which for Alabama fans, it's been unbelievable. I mean, it's just been one great thing after another. I mean, from football, SEC championship, playoff, national championship, and then you get into this regular season basketball championship, and now, the obviously the SEC tournament championship. So football and basketball in the same exact year won the regular season in football and the championship game, and the basketball won the regular season and championship. It's the first time that's ever happened in school history. And that's quite an accomplishment. I'm guessing Florida would probably be the only other team to do that and I don't know this for sure, but I remember when their football team, I want to say, went undefeated and then won and then obviously won the tournament, the championship game, in football. They won the national championship as well. And then the basketball team won the regular season and with, Noah and all those guys, and then they won the tournament. So it doesn't happen a lot. It does not happen a lot.
This is a unique program. It's really a unique athletic department right now. I mean, everybody's winning. And, if you're an Auburn fan, it's a struggle because Alabama defeated Auburn in softball today, 4-2. They're still undefeated in every sport in 2021 against Auburn. So, it's been a tough stretch for the Tigers, an unbelievable one for the Tide, and it is going to be a lot of fun to see how this shakes out. The sky's the limit. This team really does have potential to go to the Final Four and win the whole thing. Why not?
No one wants to be the program now that loses to Auburn. It's so did softball sweep them? They did sweep them?
I think it was a 4-2 win today. Let's see. Yesterday, I believe, a little bit more decisive. They won 3-2. Or that was them taking the lead today. Let's see. Let me find here on the Twitter. But no, it's in basketball, I think was a great step. They won 6-0 yesterday. 6-0 in the series opener. I'm not even sure how many games they played now that I look at it, but just dominance all the way around. And it's a testament to really Greg Byrne. We heard some of our guests today talk about it. It's, this guy with, like Nate Oats, a very strategic plan, and he's executed it perfectly. Nate Oats was, kind of out of the blue hire. This was a guy that was gaining national attention and really gaining the respect, took Buffalo to the Sweet 16, but hadn't, really made much of an impact when it came to the conversations about, big time hires anywhere. And, it's panned out to be a pretty dang good hire. So credit to Nate Oats, credit to everybody throughout all these sports for just figuring out a way to keep on winning. Football is champions. Basketball is now SEC tournament champs and regular season champs. Crazy to think about. And, I got to assume we might have a few more championships coming the rest of this spring the way everybody's playing.
Well, Trey, thanks so much. Nate Oats has a killer instinct when there's an opportunity for a championship, and maybe that's what Greg Byrne saw in him. And obviously, it's been a long time since Alabama basketball has been this good. Really. It's going to be fun. We'll see what happens in the tournament. Still more games to be played, but a second championship in 1 year for basketball. Unbelievable. This is the stuff that Kentucky does on a regular basis, right? It's not football. Right. It's like Alabama football. Well, anyway, Trey, thanks, man, for joining us. And before we get off here, I want to thank everyone at Pearl River Resort for letting us do the show from here this Sunday and, host our watch party, if you will. And for those of you that are in Tuscaloosa, you're talking about an hour and a half drive, Birmingham, you get over here. You've got the sports book we're at right now, the Timeout Sports Lounge, and there's a ton of different ways that you can come here and place your bet and then watch the games when the tournament starts, really on Thursday with the playing games, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is incredible. It's going to be 5 straight days of tournament excitement. They'll have all the games on television. You got an app that you can put on your phone and you can bet that way. You got kiosks. You got, people that are over there that you just basically walk up and hand the ticket to. You got the stations where you can hear the sound and you can go anywhere in the world really and find a sporting event and watch. They got that as well. Don't forget that they have a great promotion going right now. If you play $50 or more at the sports book, they'll give you a ticket to play the Dancing Rabbit Golf Course, which is called the Augusta, that you can play for just $30. That ends on March 31st. Mom and Them's Restaurant, it's brand new here. I told you before that if you bring your tax refund check to either casino, Golden Moon or Silver Star, they'll give you a chance to spin the big wheel and you can win $100 in free play, which is pretty funny. It's just by bringing in your tax. You're just showing them, hey, look, I got my taxes here. And, they've put a ton of money into this facility, $600,000 in capital investments to just to keep the place extra clean during COVID. UV light technology cleans the air that you breathe. non-invasive temperature checks. You walk in, they're checking your temperature without, you even stopping you. Like a lot of places they'll put the little gun up to you, whatever. This thing it senses you as you walk in. Hand reel cleaners using UV light, and they're not gambling with your health at Pearl River Resort. That's what they really want you to know. So we appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun. Before I kick off for the night, I got one more message, but I want to hit this one time, and then when I come back, I'm going to tell you about all the cool stuff we got coming up this week.
Get in on the action at Pearl River Resort. New members get $50 of free play on us. Or if you haven't played with us since 2018, we're inviting you to come back and play. $50 on us. See Players Club for details.
Where's our sports fans? Place your bets now at the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. From the first pitch to the final down, the toss-up to the knockout, and everything in between, we'll keep you in action all season long. Play, win, repeat. Only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casino's Pearl River Resort properties.
All right, there it is, Trey. We got Monday Night Quarterback tomorrow. That is at 6 o'clock. Right, 6 o'clock Central. I know the time changed today. We've all been confused by it. Some of us didn't get the sleep we're used to. But, hey, tomorrow at 6 o'clock we'll be on. We'll break down, all the latest news as far as Alabama's concerned, recruiting, this basketball tournament. Spring practice is coming up. We got to figure out who's going to be the starting quarterback. And, in football, we got the spring game on the 17th of April. So that and much more. Kyle Henderson, who's our managing editor, and Andrew Bone, who handles recruiting. They got their great show on Tuesday. We got an entire week of stuff going on. Anything that I missed that you think I should bring up?
I think you hit it on the nose there. Check out the articles. I'm sure you said it. I zoned out for a minute. Subscribe, all the things. There's so much out right now, guys. It's really incredible. This mass crossover of all the sports, and basketball is coming to the tournament now too, and football is just getting kicked up. So go check it all out. And real quick before we get off to, I think it's 25% capacity for the tournament, all rounds for you, Mark. There, so you're gonna have to scream extra loud from the couch, but we'll be doing it with you. So
yeah. Well, look, man. Special thanks to Ryan here at Pearl River Resort and Chris for jumping on with us. For the guys that made this show possible. Trey, you've been working hard. Tony was on. You can read his work at BamaInsider.com. Like and subscribe as you hang out. I ask you that all the time, guys. The more of you that are part of this, the more shows like this that we're going to do. We can just kind of chop it up when big things happen in Alabama, plus our daily shows as well. And Kyle Henderson and the rest of the crew. Great talking with Brian Pasic, Charlie Walter today. And most importantly, you guys, thanks for hanging out. All right, for Trey, I'm Mick Gillespie. Bama's a number 2 seed. They'll play Iona on Saturday with Rick Pitino. Hey, put another dub in the book for the SEC tournament champion, Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, everybody.